Well, good evening, everybody, and welcome back to the final word with MattyB here on the It's a Wrap Sports Network on this later than usual Wednesday night, December 18th, 2024. I want to thank you for bearing with me as we were trying to, I was letting, of course, the postgame show run its course. Another great job by Sal G with Clear the Ice. Shame I can't say that about the Flyers, man. Good God, 6-4 losers tonight. Detroit Red Wings, and a game that was once again a snapshot of all the Flyers' problems in 2024-25. Lack of legitimate scoring, not enough of it, not enough firepower, and some shoddy goaltending. And the defense now all of a sudden has crept into the main Flyer problem as Cam York, man, another bad game. All that. And then Patrick Kane went off. Just went off. I mean, he's a future Hall of Famer, one of the best it's ever been, and he went off. He went off tonight. What did he get? 2-point night for Kane, but he was involved in a lot of the other plays. He was very active off the puck, very active on the puck, off the scoring play, but very active indeed tonight for Patrick Kane and the rest of the Detroit Red Wings. Alex Lyon, former Flyer farmhand, there wasn't like uber sharp himself, but a lot more sharper than Sam Ersson was tonight. So the Flyers lost 6-4. We're going to talk and continue the conversation about that. We got your day in Philadelphia sports history. We also maybe got a little bit of Flyers Commanders, maybe just a little bit. I do want to save it though, because tomorrow here on the program, or on the network, not the program, but on the network tomorrow, is the quintessential Eagle pregame show. You need to look no further when it comes to Eagle pregame entertainment than the Birds Blast with Kyle Quinn tomorrow here on the It's a Wrap Sports Network at some point in the early evening, 6:30, 7, 8, potentially Friday or potentially Saturday, maybe even like on an outside chance on Sunday. But it will happen starting it'll begin. The time window for this show is tomorrow, but we'll break that game down. So I'm going to get into a little bit of Eagles Commanders. Don't really want to talk much about it because we've been talking the Eagles to death. It's good to be able to talk about the Flyers tonight. It's good to be able to talk about something other than the damn Eagles, to be honest with you. But we'll get into some of that tonight. We have our Of the Night segment as we continue our journey through the Flyer prospect pool, as the Flyers made a move tonight. They made a very unassuming move, and we'll get into that move later, just a little bit. Nothing that will move your needle or move your radar, trust me. But it's a good news story because it's always successful for me to see a player kind of rise through the ranks like this guy has and earned himself a contract with the Flyers today. So we'll talk about that too. We're going to get into the card review segment and the MattyB all-time top 10 Christmas movie list continues. We're all the way up to number 4, and we'll debut my number 4 all-time favorite Christmas movie of all time. Did I mention it was all time? Is all those things and much, much more here on the program. And remind you that everything on the It's a Wrap Sports Network is brought to you by currently the It's a Wrap Sports Network, and we need your help. We need your support, please. It takes about 2 seconds to hit the subscribe button. It takes 2 seconds to turn your notification bell on. It takes 2 seconds to do all those like things as well. And it would help us out a whole bunch of things as we grow this network into 2025 and beyond. This It's a Wrap Sports Network was not on my bingo card 3 months ago. It was not, but it's here now. And it's not going anywhere because I will continue this and I will succeed where so many have failed. And that is the mission statement here of It's a Wrap is to turn this into the first ever 365 day a year, 24 hour a day, digital Philadelphia sports talk TV station, I guess. I don't know. What do you call this stuff? YouTube TV. But that's what we want to do. We want to take terrestrial radio and bring it in a full-time basis over here on the internet. And it starts today. And it starts with you helping us out with these subscriptions, as we have gone from 0 subscriptions all the way up to 34 on YouTube in the last 2 months. That's a success, man. I ain't gonna lie. Starting this thing from the bare bones, boy. But please continue your help. So let's get into your night in Philadelphia sports history on this beautiful December the 18th. On this December the 18th, way back in 1949, which is an interesting date to keep in mind for my number 4 all-time favorite Christmas movie. Keep that date in mind, 1949, or year in mind. The Eagles defeated the LA Rams 14-0 for the NFL championship. That's right. The Eagles went back-to-back, winning the 48 NFL championship, and on this day in 49, winning the 49. So back-to-back champions. Steve Van Buren contributed 196 rushing yards in the victory, a postseason record that was stood for nearly 40 years. The Eagles, of course, as a franchise, have 3 championships. They have two or three NFL and 1 Super Bowl. Then on this date, 1949, the Eagles went back-to-back NFL championships. They were done with their season in December. Interesting. Would that fly anymore? Would you be able to stomach a Super Bowl at Christmas time? I mean, would that be something that people would be interested in? Maybe you start the season in August or at the end of July and you run it through till this time of the year and you culminate with a Super Bowl like the week before Christmas. Would that work? Would people be into that? I don't know. I would like to see how that would work for, say, a season, but I understand kind of stretching that thing out. I kind of like the way it is now because it gets you kind of right to the precipice, literally, of spring training. I mean, the Super Bowl ends about 3 days before spring training starts or before pitchers and catchers report. So it gets that lull of sports hell kind of over with fast enough or faster. So I don't know, but I would like to kind of see how that would look. And back in 1949, they did see how that looked because that's how it was. But on this day in 1949, the Phillies, Flyers, Sixers, no, the Eagles went back-to-back. And there you have it, your day in Philadelphia sports history, brought to you by the good folks here over at the It's a Wrap Sports Network. And we're all here for you. So 6-4 Flyers with the loss tonight. Very disheartening game. Up 1-0, down 4-2. They battled their way back 4-4. Where have we not heard this script before? And then they lose that late. They get that late goal scored upon them, and they don't have enough offense to push themselves back into this game as they fall 6-4 at the end with an open netter. Now going back down to 500, 14-4 now for the Flyers on the young season. And as we are now kind of burgeoning here on the holiday break, where's the pulse of Flyers Nation right now? Because I took a lot of heat a few weeks ago when I recommended that it's time to start moving some players around. When I recommended that it's time that, even though it's a great story that we are involved in right now, the rebuild has been, I'm not even going to call it a success. We can't really call a rebuild a success until you win a championship or you don't win one. So I'm not going to be able to call it a success or a failure in year 2. But I took a lot of heat for suggesting, especially to some of the notable Philadelphia sports talk personalities out there, that maybe it's time the Flyers start looking at trades. Maybe it's time to start looking to move some players along, like the Joel Farabees, the Morgan Frostises, the Rasmus Mistolainenens, players like that. Noah Cates, I'll throw him in that list. And I'm also going to toss Tyson Forrester into that list too. Maybe it's time to start looking at maybe potentially moving some of these guys down the road for potential better assets. Now, whether that be in value of a player or draft capital, either one would work for me at this point. And I took a lot of heat for that, saying, no, this is not the time to do that. This is not the time to trade. This is a time to build. That was my cuz impression. Was it any good? Because he impersonates me on his show. So it's my cuz. Is that good? Is that good? But yeah, I got a lot of heat for that. But once again, we see with our own eyes that as good of a news story that the Flyers are in 24 and 25, what honestly is the ceiling for this team with the current players that are on it? Do you see any more progression from some of these players? Are these players going to instantly morph into some 30, 40 goal scorers a year, 80, 90 point guys? Is Sam Ersson going to potentially become a Vezina Trophy winner? I mean, maybe they do, but with what we've seen of them so far, especially this year, what is the reality of that? And at 14-4, and still stick with my guns by saying that the Flyers are not a terrible team. They are a middle of the pack team. They are actually the pure definition of a middle of the pack hockey team. And I don't know what you're going to be able to do with that come draft time, picking 15, 16 overall. The Flyers have a boatload. I think it's 3 first-round picks, 2 second-round picks coming up this summer and a very deep draft, which we will begin breaking down for you next month. So the Flyers do have something to work there with, but currently sitting where they're at in the middle of the pack, I mean, I don't know if they're going to be able to kind of turn the wheel that fast. And with free agency the way it is with this team and their salary cap problems that the Flyers have heading into next summer, $13.5 million currently available in cap, which is terrible before you even sign anybody of your own players that are going to hit RFA status. And you also have to round out an AHL team. So you're probably looking more like around $8 million of cap room right now to start with next summer. You're not going free agent to improve this team. Keith Jones and MattyB are committed and steadfast by saying that they want to build the Stanley Cup champion. They don't want to build a 500 hockey club. They don't want to build a hockey club that wins or loses in the first round. They want to build a perennial Stanley Cup contender, and that does not happen, of course, overnight. And I'm not really sure if Flyer fans are aware of that. And the reality of it, and that's not just coach speak. That's not being like, it's not going to happen overnight. You got to be patient. No, they really mean it's not going to happen overnight, and it's going to take a while. And do the Flyers fans in reality, in essence, deep down, do they have that much patience? I don't. I know I don't. Do I have enough patience to last another 20 years without a Stanley Cup? That would be 70 years in between cups. For God's sakes, will I even be alive the next time the Flyers win a Stanley Cup? I mean, that's a question I'm starting to ask myself more and more every day. Will I be living the next time the Flyers hoist a cup? Or will I be sitting in a chair somewhere, drooling on myself? And no, that's not next week, but later on in my life. And someone's going to have to tell me, hey, Matt, look, the Flyers won the cup. Is that what's going to happen? Am I not going to be able to bear the fruits of all of my labor when it comes to being a fan and somebody who, bleeds orange and black? Where's mine at? I was lucky enough to see an Eagles Super Bowl. Is lightning going to strike twice for me and I want to see a Flyer Stanley Cup? Now, technically, I've seen 2. I've seen 2 Flyer Stanley Cups. The first and the back-to-back cups that were during my lifetime. Granted, I was 1 and 2 years old, respectively, and I have no conscious memory of the Flyers winning a Stanley Cup. If I did, then obviously I'm in the right business because I was gifted with sports from the very beginning. But no, I do not have conscious memory at 1 or 2 years old of witnessing the Flyers winning Stanley Cups. So I have not bared personal witness to the Flyers winning cups. And I'm getting concerned that I may never bear witness to the Flyers winning a Stanley Cup. And as we look, and the rumors are flying around this week that the Flyers might be in the running for making trades. Now, these trades of some of these players that are being kind of thrown around, there's one interesting point of view that I don't think is getting enough attention. It's the fact that the Flyers might sell off their own assets current on the team and not get anything back for those assets except draft capital. Like, that's, I think, a part of this that the Flyer faithful have not looked into. A la Sean Walker. The Flyers were in a playoff race last year. They were deep in it. They were 6th seed overall in the Eastern Conference. Their defensive core was going through sort of a little bit of a problem with injuries. And what did they do at the trade deadline? They took their one constant piece, number 26, right? Wasn't he 26? Sean Walker, the anchor of the defense, one of the more solid players that the Flyers had all season long. And in the middle of a playoff push, in the middle of the 6th seed in the East, what did they do at the deadline that supposedly add to their talent pool? They shipped away one of their more valuable players for a first-round draft pick. So there's a history here that MattyB is going to do that. And that should have told everybody, told me, of course, last year, everything I needed to know about where the Flyers' heads were when it came to the playoff push last year. They didn't care. It was all about building assets and getting more assets. Are we entering a same type of position or similar situation now. Do the Flyers start moving some of these assets, some of these players today, the Noah Cates, the Morgan Frosts, those players, the Farabees, those guys? Do the Flyers move those players today for capital tomorrow? Are they not interested in returning anything in value from other teams? Because let's face it, man, what are you really going to get from Morgan Frost? If you package them all together, if you package some Morgan Frost, Joel Farabee, Noah Cates, let's throw in Owen Tippett. You might be able to get somebody back for that, but that's a lot to lose and really only one player to get back. It would have to be one player, then a lot of draft picks too. So I think that's one point of all this that Flyer fans are not looking and giving enough credence to, is that, I think it's going to come to a point, especially if we cannot get above this mediocrity, if like in a month or two from now, like after the Four Nations, like right before the trade deadline in late February, early March, if we are still a middling team, like 500, even if we're still in the playoff race with 4 or 5 points out of the last spot, I would not be surprised that Danny B pulls the trigger on a move like he did last year, sending assets for assets tomorrow. So, and is it frustrating? Is it frustrating to watch a team that goes out and busts their ass every single night, not be able to win because they're just not good enough? That's frustrating. It is. It actually is. But tonight, 6-4 Flyers with the loss. It was actually an entertaining game, 10-goal game out there in Detroit. It's always entertaining when you get goals. I know there's the pitcher's duel people in baseball. There's the defensive struggles in football people. And then there's the people in hockey that like either offense or they like goalie play. I kind of lean on the goal side. I love a lot of goals. I think it keeps people entertained. I think it keeps people interested, and especially if you're trying to bring in a new audience, a team that scores a lot of goals definitely works for me. So we definitely had a lot of that going on tonight. Barbara checking in. Barbara, Matty, when is it going to get better for the Flyers? I don't know, Barbara. I floated out a couple of potential, avenues to get better, but as far as when is it going to get it, when are all these seeds going to start sprouting and all that? As I said at the top, I hope before I die. I honestly do. Because again, is it get better, Barbara? Is that what we're looking to do? Or is it looking? Do you want a steady, slow, gradual return, to playoff prominence? Or do you want to go from 0 to 100? Do you want to go from, barely not making the playoffs to making it to the Stanley Cup Finals every year? What are you guys looking to do? I'm definitely looking for that more of a faster turnaround myself. But and to answer your question, Barbara, I don't know. We're early on in this thing. And again, I don't know if Flyer fans are ready for what the siege is going to be. I think it's going to be a while. I honestly do. They keep saying they want to rebuild the right way. Well, the right way is to gather up draft assets. It's gather up young players, and it's to cultivate them. It's to coach them. It's to work with them, and it's to make decisions about their future when things don't seem to be working out. So I hope that answers your question. And I don't know if that's the right answer, or I should say, I don't know if that's the popular answer. I think it's the right answer, but I don't know if it's the popular answer. And, I don't know if people are ready for that. I don't know if I'm ready for that, honestly. So hope that helped you out, Barbara. They give up way too many goals. Yeah, Sam Ersson was not good tonight. The Flyers you mentioned that, Barbara. The Flyers on the season now with their 6 goals given up tonight are now well over 100 on the year. They've given up 108, which is only, if you think about it, a little bit over 3. 3 point, matter of fact, right at 3 goals a game. Right at three goals a game. So, when you're looking at giving up goals in the NHL, I can live with 3. I can live at 3. But the problem is when you don't have an offense that scores more than 3, there's the problem. And the Flyers right now are still averaging less than 3 goals a game themselves. So I can live where they're at in terms of giving up goals. I can. I'm not necessarily hung up on that. Now, as far as the goalie situation, it's funny that we don't necessarily talk about it anymore. It was such a bugaboo and such an issue, and it remains that way to this day because we still haven't found the replacement for Pelle Lindbergh yet, for God's sakes. And, we have 3 of them that we're working out right now. There's 2 more that are toiling in leagues around the world that should be peddling their wares here soon, maybe next year, for Bjornsson and Zarajan. So whatever the fix is, Barbara, I think it's coming from in-house. And I don't know if the Flyers are going to go out and spend money on a goaltender. I don't know if the Flyers have that luxury right now to go out and spend money on a goaltender. I think the days of a free agent goalie coming to Philadelphia are over for a long time. I think we're going to grow it from within. I think you're going to see 2 young kids, kind of holding it down in Lehigh. You're going to see the older of the young kids holding it down in Philadelphia. I think the Flyers are committed to building and returning their goalie situation in-house. And, they've invested some capital, back-to-back 2nd and 3rd round picks in 23 on Bjornsson and Zarajan. So they've invested some capital in the position. So I can't, can you blame the defense? Lately you can, because it's been bad. But some of the goals, like that goal off the face-off tonight, Erson's got to do better. I mean, he's got to be able to see that better. He's got to be able to track that better. Erson seems to me like he's not as agile as he was pre-injury. Now, it was only his 3rd game back. I get that, but maybe he's not ready. Maybe what Tortorella said the other day was very accurate, that one of the reasons and the main reason that they're keeping 3 goalies on the roster right now is because they have serious concerns about Sam Erson's durability. And they're trying to see if that, if they can kind of wait that out. But tonight, it looked like his durability and his flexibility were definitely limited, in my opinion. So Erson probably has a few of those goals he'd like back. But the defense, they didn't help him out either. So what's up, man? I thought you were coming on tonight. Are we doing that? You want to pop on? You know the address. So yeah. So actually, I do want to talk about, where's the goal I want to talk about. So that's the Brinket's goal, right? It was 2-1 Detroit. Let me see. Let me bring this thing up because this is I want to talk about this goal. I actually caught the end part of this game. I didn't watch the whole game. I was busy tonight doing some Christmas stuff. So I got in towards the end of the game. So I kind of had to recap some of this stuff on the fly. But I think I know enough about hockey where I can kind of summarize some things. But yeah, so this is the Brinket goal from Patrick Kane in the second period, with about halfway through the second period. I want to bring this up because, this is kind of highlighting another problem that we've had so far, or started to kind of, creep up on us. And that's the play of Cam York. I did a little video short the other day on his struggles in Minnesota. And tonight, he kind of is seemingly going down the same road here. So here we go. Here's Cam York. And now this is what I don't understand about this play. Okay, let's look at the posture here, right? Is it defenseman, right? And he's got a little bit of offensive ability. And again, let me kind of context all this by saying I am a huge Cam York guy. I really do believe he is going to be the backbone and the anchor of this team at some point in the future. But what really annoys me about the play you're about to see is it's completely meditated. Like, he's not taken by surprise by any of this stuff because he was doing everything right technically, or through technique, I should say, not technically, but technique was correct. He just made some really bad decisions. And this is the second game in a row that's sort of reared its ugly head. And on this play here, he's looking to pass, and there's nobody that's going to deny that. He's got all the telltale signs of a player who wants to pass. His head's up. He's scanning down the ice. His stick is flat to the ice. The puck is also flat to the ice, and he's kind of cocking back those arms, getting ready to go. But then this is what I don't get. And we'll play it a little bit quicker here. He sees it. Now, maybe he telegraphs it too much. And when you're dealing with a Hall of Fame player in Patrick Kane, and let's call it what he is, he's going to the Hall of Fame. You know, he could have been a Flyer. Of course, we can talk about that too. But, you know, I don't know what he was thinking. I'm going to sneak this by Kane. I don't really get it. You know, I can't really see. We can try to pop it back a little bit. I wasn't able to confirm or deny because the camera angle is not great. But where is Patrick Kane coming from across the ice? Was his head turned? Was his body turned pre-pass? Did he just instinctively make a break on it? Either way, he steps right in front of Travis Sanheim, who again is about as stiff as they come as a defenseman when it comes to playing defense. I don't understand the love affair for Travis Sanheim. I've never understood the love affair for Travis Sanheim. We are paying him so much money to play average to slightly above average hockey. Might as well just slap a Jalen Hurts jersey on him because that's exactly what we're paying for. We're paying him that kind of money and we're kind of getting the same sort of result, honestly. So anyway, Patrick Kane's going to step in front of the pass. And then he's going to execute the 2-on-1. Actually, I think this is a 3-on-1, if I ain't mistaken. The camera angle is really bad. It's hopefully, but actually, you don't need to see a camera angle for this play to see what's happening. All right, there's so many things wrong with this. You know, when you're down to, I think this was a 3-on-1. This was a 3-on-1, if I'm not mistaken. It was. Either way, Cam York is like he's it. He instigated the bad pass. He's the one who's now kind of caught in no man's land. He is now the one who's got to do whatever he's got to do to potentially mitigate the damage here. So what he does is, being the only defender in this play faced with 3 Red Wings, is decide to go down on his to slide. Don't understand. I've never accepted sliding as a defenseman in hockey. I think it's terrible. I think it's a horrible way to play defense, and you never go. And why are you doing it when you're the only defender in a 3-on-1 situation? Now, there is something to be said about trying to make your body big, right? Try to kind of cut off that pass, because to Cam York's credit, he does recognize that Patrick Kane is passing all along. But with a player like Kane, he could pull that pass back in a millisecond and decide to take a shot on Urson. And right now, if you take a look at where Urson's playing this, he's leaving that far side wide open. And I'm sure Patrick Kane is processing this as he's going through, saying, you know what, I probably have a legit shot here, but he's not going to take it. But you just don't allow the options here, because by Cam York going on the ground, he's now giving Pat Kane more time. He's giving a Hall of Fame player more time to decide what he wants to do offensively. You just never do that. So he's going to go on the ground to try to make himself bigger. He's going to use that stick of his to make himself look bigger. And in order to do this, because he knows there's a pass potentially coming in from across the ice, so you got to have your stick on the ice in order to try to, deflect the pass, because trying to elevate the pass above Cam York will kind of slow down or decrease the offensive opportunity for the player, because they'll have to try to catch the pass, put it back on the ground, and then maybe take a shot. Will eliminate the one-timer type situation. But Cam York, for some reason, decides he's going to go and swat, and then not only does he I gotta pop that back. So let's pop that back. So Cam York is going to not only drop on the ground, he's going to raise the stick up. So right now, all Cam York is doing is supermaning across the ice for no particular reason other than to do that. Just a terrible defensive play. He not only loses his feet and goes on the ground, then he raises his stick up the ice, then opening the one-timer option for Patrick Kane to pass the puck over to DeBrincat, who is going to step into it and deliver a one-time opportunity and beat Sam Urson like the rented mule that he was tonight. So I wanted to play that again to sort of highlight the struggles of one Cam York over the last couple nights, and it's just not been fun to watch. Sorry, studying for a Kevin. No, come on, you know that, man. You don't have to apologize to me. But I wanted to highlight that because that, in a nutshell, summarizes Cam York. And if you want to go back here on our YouTube page, you can take a look at the the little short I did on him, highlighting some of his problems he had Saturday against Minnesota in that 2-on-1 that he created, and found himself on the same side of the ice with the Ristolainen, with a guy coming down the other wing, completely oblivious to the fact that there was another player breaking into the zone, which led to a goal scoring opportunity and a goal from the Minnesota Wild. So not a good night for Cam York, but of course he was not the reason alone the Flyers lost. He was not. There was some suspect goaltending, and the Detroit Red Wings are a team much like the Flyers, much trying to find their way in this new world of hockey, and have actually struggled longer than the Flyers have, and are potentially going to pull themselves out of it before the Flyers do. So, yeah, just a just an all-around bad game tonight by the Flyers as they lose 6-4. And let's talk some of the stat pack stuff from this game, because there's also a few things I do want to bring up. The Flyers gave up yet another shorthanded goal tonight. So what was once a very stout shorthanded penalty kill unit has really kind of hit on some hard times. The Flyers have been shorthanded 94 times this season and have given up 78. Have killed, it's not given up. I've killed 78 penalties. So short 94 times, killed 78 of them. Their percentage now is down around 82% on the on the penalty kill. I don't remember the last time that was that low. All last season and even the season before that, one of the things that you could trust the Flyers was their penalty kill. I'm talking all like in the mid 80s, high 80s, bordering on 90, and now we're down to 82. And that is a trend that has been terrible over the past week or 10 days, that they're giving up more and more shorthanded goals. And that's something that definitely needs to be addressed, because we're not scoring power play goals, as it's been well documented over the last few seasons. They were 0 for 1 tonight on the power play. So we're not getting any special teams assistance from goal scoring, and we're not scoring any more shorthanded goals. They got only 2 so far on the year. The team that scored 16 last season. So you gotta cinch it up with your penalty kill, and it has not been the case thus far for the Flyers this year. I mentioned the 108 goals now the Flyers have surrendered on the year. The Flyers in turn have scored 93, so that is still below 3 a game. It's 2.9. You want to use the rule of 5 to make yourself feel better, that's great, but it's 2.9. And then tonight, as again another stat, starting to turn into the RISP stat that I kind of harp on when it comes to baseball. 17 giveaways tonight. 17 more giveaways to go along with only 5 takeaways. So the team is back up to, I think against Minnesota, it was 18. Then, long gone are those 2 or 3 days last week where they were below 10. But they're back up there in that high teen, low 20 area of giveaways. And now on the season, the Flyers have given the puck away 488 times for about 15 times a game. 15 times a game. It's not going to do it, man. It is just not going to work. And all that's going to lead to a 6-4 loss. And once again, back to the drawing board for the Flyers. And it's not going to be a long trip, because we got to get it revved back up tomorrow night at the Center as we're home to face the Los Angeles Kings. And here we go. Sal will be back at you tomorrow with the Clear the Ice program. I have you on Saturday and for the rest of the year, because after Saturday against Columbus, and I believe it's the Penguins, then it's the break, and then it's a West Coast trip on their way to Southern California for that New Year's trip that I remember so well as a child. Not that I took the trip with them, but I remember watching hockey at 10:30 at night. So we will have all that to talk about. On the personnel front, the Flyers did make a move today. Jacob Gauthier signed a 2-year entry-level contract for the Flyers. He was an undrafted free agent who signed on with the Reading Royals a couple of 3 seasons ago. worked his way up through Reading onto Lehigh Valley on a PTO, and through his work, now his second season with the Phantoms, has earned himself a 2-year contract with the Flyers. So he has now been added to the, what is it, the 50-man roster, the active 50-man roster. So he is now taking up a roster spot on the Flyers, basically from, from nowhere to somewhere, as he has gone the less traveled road of hockey stardom, is when you don't get drafted and you have to kind of fight your way up through the ranks, literally. But when that happens and he signed that contract today, I guarantee you it was probably one of the most fulfilling days of his life to sit down and sign a professional hockey contract after not being drafted and fighting his way through the ECHL, the Coast, and the A. And now he's currently in Lehigh Valley, but he's been rewarded with his work as he now signed a 2-year entry-level contract with the Flyers. So he will be part of our prospect breakdown in the very near future, as he is now officially a part of the Flyers 50-man roster. So congratulations, Mr. Gauthier, and welcome to the Flyers. And you've earned it. Now let's get you to the Flyers and see what you can do with it, man. So Flyers lose 6-4, but make a move and sign a player from their own system, sort of. It'll take me way long for me to go through how this works in hockey, but I will sit down and explain someday how this thing does work and how players kind of come and go. But there you have it. Flyers 6-4 losers, 14-14-2 or 4 now on the season, as they will be back at it tomorrow night to try to get the ship righted against the Kings. And we will have you here post-game coverage. Make sure that you are standing by. All right. Now, the one more thing that I want to talk about, and we are going to kind of flip to the Eagles before I wrap, it's 40 minutes on the Flyers. Wow. That was good. So the one last thing I do want to talk about the Eagles and their success against the Steelers and their success overall so far this season in the 12-2 run that they've been on, 10-game winning streak, and all the great things that's brought. I've mentioned the 88 and 107 record of their opponents this year. I've mentioned all those things. I've mentioned the 36-6 record of the Buffalo Bills, the Detroit Lions, and the Kansas City Chiefs, the teams that are standing in the Eagles' way. But I'm still having problems digesting why the Eagles, after 9 weeks of straight offensive ground pounding, decided to switch to a pass-heavy attack against the Steelers. And I'm having a hard time processing it, not because of the realistic reason, and the reason we all know why they did it, but I'm having a hard time processing it because I think the homers completely ran with it by saying it had nothing to do with the Eagles trying to show off Jalen Hurts or trying to show off A.J. Brown. It had everything to do with the Eagles trying to attack the fifth best rushing defense in the league heading into that game. And I'm really having a hard time wrapping my head around that because, so then I went back and I had to check the numbers. I had to do that. So currently, the Eagles so far have only faced 3 teams this season that are currently in the top 10 of rushing defenses in football. 3 teams. And the first team that they faced in the top 10 was way back in week 1 against the Packers. And that was a pretty pass-heavy type of attack. The second team was the Ravens a few weeks ago, and they ran the ball pretty steadily in that game too. And then, of course, the Steelers were the 5th ranked team, and that was this week where they were pass-heavy. So I'm not buying the whole, well, that was because it was strategically placed that we had to go attack them through the air because they had such a stout rush defense. I'm not buying that. All right, I'm not buying that because if we go a little bit deeper into this, Tampa Bay, New Orleans, and Atlanta, respectively, through the first 4 weeks of the season are, Tampa Bay is right on the outside of the top 10. They're at 11. New Orleans is 27 and Atlanta is 13. In those 4 games to start the season, to include the Green Bay game, the Eagles were pass happy all over the place. So I'm not buying that. They had teams that were on the bottom of rush defenses, but they weren't exploiting that. They were still throwing the football. So please stop it with the whole, well, we just made a really good game plan to attack the Steelers because they were stout up front and we wanted to air it out because we wanted to go a different way. Well, it makes no sense because they've completely not done that all season long. They ran the ball regardless of who they were playing. So it was an effort to show off AJ Brown, to show off the relationship that they have with Jalen Hurts and all that stuff. And that's fine, but don't, down my leg and tell me it's raining. But there you go. That was my Eagles bit. As I said, though, tomorrow, be on the lookout because we will be back at a time to be determined. But at some point tomorrow, the Birds Blast with Kyle Quinn, the quintessential Eagle pregame show, will return to the network as we'll break down the Commanders and we'll look one last time at the Steelers with our boy Kyle. All right, now let's get into our Of the Night segment, and here we go. All right, this is the Of the Night segment. This is the part of the show where we break down a Flyers prospect, a Phillies prospect, a Flyers draft pick option, and a Phillies draft pick option. We'll spotlight a Flyers player or we'll spotlight a Phillies player, but we are still embedded in hockey and we're still embedded deep in the Flyer prospect pool. So we're going to keep it rolling with the Flyers prospects. And your prospect of the night is Hiki Ruhoen. The say that 10 times fast, man. The 4th round pick this past summer in the 2024 NHL draft. He is the centerman who's currently playing in the United States Hockey League for the Dubuque Fighting Saints. 6'2", 205-pound, 18-year-old centerman who is showing off what he has in the USHL so that he next season can show off in the NCAA because he's a commit. That's right. Hiki Ruhoen has already committed to Harvard. That's right. Yeah, he's going to play Harvard. He's going to play for the Crimson next year and Harvard, as he's already committed to them, and he'll be just by that timeline, he's probably 3-4 years away from ever sniffing the Flyers. But he does present some options later on down the line. 6'2", 205 is a good stout frame for a bottom third line guy. He's a two-way center who drives plays. He pushes the pace and has some power forward qualities. He uses explosive weight shifts to beat defenders to the inside, outworking opponents for body positioning and using contact as an advantage. All the things you want from a 21st century centerman. And Hiki, who, as I mentioned, will be playing for the Harvard Crimson next year as he's a commit to Harvard. Now, he's from Finland, so he's obviously not from around here, but he's currently playing in the USHL for the Dubuque Fighting Saints. And next year, he's on his way to Harvard. So there you have it. Flyers draft pick, or Flyers prospect of the night, drafted in the 4th round of this past summer's draft. And hopefully, within the next 3 years, again, he's one of those players fighting his way onto the roster. And 205, 6'2", I'll take him. We need centermen, but he's definitely not ready now. But maybe in about 3 to 4 years, he will be. And there you have it. Your Flyer prospect of the night on the Of the Night segment. So we're actually getting through these prospects pretty heavy. And starting actually in a couple weeks, I'm going to promo this too, because I cannot emphasize or underemphasize this enough. We are thrilled here at the It's a Wrap Sports Network to be part of the media pool for the 2025 IIHF World Junior Championships up in Ottawa, Canada, the premier showcase of the talent of tomorrow, not only for the Flyers currently in the system, but all the teams of the National Hockey League, as well as the draft picks of tomorrow. So a lot of the players who will dominate your headlines in June at this year's NHL draft will be on display at this tournament. And we will be there to bring it to you starting on December 26th up in Ottawa. The cracked hockey department of It's a Wrap Sports will be taking their show on the international stage. That means I'm going to Canada. That's the hockey department here. It's me. So I'm headed to Canada. Can't wait. Can't wait. I'm taking 4 to 5 different pitcher IDs with me, making sure that there's no reason why they can't let me back in the United States. And yeah, I can't wait to get up there. But we're gonna have fun with it, and that'll start on the day after Christmas. So looking forward to it. Let's now head over to our the most fun segment of the night. I get up in the morning looking forward to this segment, and let's roll the film now because I can't wait to do it.
Looks a little something like this. Looks a little bit like I can't miss. Hey, this is what you call a bad. What? This is what you call a bad. What? Looks a little something like this. Looks a little bit like I can't miss. Hey, this is what you call a bad. What? This is what you call a bad.
Yep, this is what you call the MattyB card review segment here on the It's a Wrap Sports. And on the final word, this is the part of the show where I take a card from my very vast sports card collection and we talk a little bit about it. We discuss some of its ups and downs, some of its uniquenesses, some of its financial windfall potential, some of the great things that come with collecting sports cards. And tonight we're back in baseball. I believe we were back in no, we weren't. We did Ron Jaworski last night. Tonight we're back on the baseball diamond for one of those iconic cards. One of those iconic cards from one of those iconic card sets, the 1987 Topps. The iconic wood paneling card that I have a lot of in my collection. It was the first set that I ever finished because back when I was a kid, it was all about collecting sets. It wasn't about the superstar card player. The cards are what's worth it now. The individual cards. It's not the sets anymore. It's the individual cards. But back when I was growing up, it was about collecting sets. And 87 Topps was my first one that I ever finished. Buying it not off Amazon or eBay by the boxes. No. Fishing through my couches at home and running up to the local deli up the street there and buying cards that were on the counter there. That's how I did the 87 Topps series. So let's take a look at the card for tonight, and it's the Roger Clemens 87 AL All-Star card. And this card you're looking at right now is a perfect 10 gem mint card. And right now, this card is fetching upwards to about $55 in this current condition. I've seen it all over the place from $55 ranging all the way down to about $1. But this card that you're looking at right now is the 87 Roger Clemens All-Star card. And right now it is fetching about $55. So I was actually very surprised to see that this card was doing this. Roger Clemens, who I believe was in his second year or heading into his it was his second year, heading into his second year in 87, coming off that record-setting 86 season. But of course, everything that's befallen him since then with the steroids and all that, probably will never see the Hall of Fame. But this card is standing alone, and for some reason, it's fetching, and collectors like it. And I do have a litany of these cards. I have multiples. I have like 8 of them. But there's one problem between what I have and what these have, and what these cards are, and what this card is, I should say. And let's talk about what the problem is. So here it is. Here is my 87 Roger Clemens Topps. Is there a good angle here? I know the light's bad. I want you to pay special attention to the side of the card here. Look at the terrible cut job on the side of this card. 87 Topps was probably the worst in the history of Topps baseball cards when it came to malfunction or manufacturer cutting errors coming off the factory floor. And this is not even one of the worst cards I have. I have cards that are cut worse than this from 87 Topps. And you would think that with, an error card and all that, a card that comes off the press is cut wrong should fetch a lot of money because it's a unique card. Well, no, not when it's cut wrong. When it's cut wrong, it's a damaged card and it's not worth anything. It's when it comes off with an error in the stats or a name misspelling or, F face on the butt of Billy Ripken's bat. That's when they are worth a lot of money. Not when they come off the press, off the sheet, cut as bad as this one is. And again, you can see it pretty prevalent here on this side. It's got it just completely goes to a slant. And again, this is not even one of my worst cards. Look at that. There is no side border there at all on this card. and pretty worthless. But I've actually listed this card on eBay, this very same card here, and it's got a few watchers right now. I list all my cards on eBay. That's how I roll. But it's actually got some people looking at it, so I want to see if it fetches anything. But here's one of my 87 Roger Clemens Topps All-Star cards from my collection. A card that in Gem Mint 10, which this is not, is fetching about $55 a card right now. So there you have it. There is the Roger Clemens 87 Topps, and that was my card segment of the night. And we are that much closer to the end of the show. But I want to remind everybody out there again, please, down below the It's a Wrap Sports Network YouTube page, please like and subscribe. We need your help. We're trying to grow this thing, and we need you to help us do that. And please, we have a lot of great things coming down the pike for 2025, adding some new people, adding some new things, growing this thing, and trying to get one step closer to the ultimate goal, which is to be a 24/7, 365-day Philadelphia sports digital media outlet on YouTube, Facebook, and X. And it starts today, and it starts with you. So let's get into the final segment of my show, which is the MattyB top 10 Christmas movies of all time list. We are up to number 4. Let's recap how we got to this point. 10 is It's a Wonderful Life. 9, any version of The Christmas Carol. 8, Elf. 7, The Santa Claus. 6, Scrooged. And yes, I delineate the difference between the Christmas Carol versions and Scrooged. It's a different movie. Sorry, I don't see it the same. And 5 was Home Alone, which we talked about last night, which brings us to number 4 on my list. And here you go.
That's fine. Wait a minute. All right, plug her in.
It is.
Well, the green string is out.
No, the green is on. It's the blue that's out.
Oh, don't tell me what color it is. I'm not colorblind.
I'm not colorblind either.
Hey, see, I told you it was green. Don't anybody move. Hold it right there. The fuse is out.
The old man could replace fuses quicker than a jackrabbit on a date. He bought them by the gross.
Ha! Ha! Ha!
Well, my, isn't that pretty?
So good. No, that star is crooked.
That star is perfectly straight.
Hey, no, it's all right.
Oh, be careful.
I am. It's come on, sit up. Just let me get it fixed. That's all right.
Yes.
Hey, perfect.
Oh, goodness, look at the time. I hope Santa hasn't had to pass up this house just because some boys weren't in bed when he came by.
Yeah, I thought I heard Santa's sleigh bells a little while ago going up the other side of the street.
All right, you two, upstairs.
Come on. Come on, on the double. Hip, hip, hey. Okay, let's get him.
All right, yeah. So my number 4 movie of all time is, yes, The Christmas Story. I mean, listen, now it's been overdone to death. Okay, the 24 hours starting on Christmas Eve. Is it 24 hours? It's a lot. It's like 12, 18 hours straight. It's too much. It's too much now. I agree. But when I was younger and this first came out, I think it came out in what year was it? 80? No, it was in the 90s, wasn't it? I remember seeing it on cable when it first came out, and I thought it was like funny as hell. And it was nostalgia to a point where I did not grow up around this time. Remember, I said back in the early part of the show, remember the year 1949. This movie is set, I believe, in 47, which would have been 2 years after World War II. You know, America was smelling itself. We were a superpower of the world, and living in economic prosperity that we've never seen since. And this movie comes along and captures the feel of being a kid at Christmas during that time. Now, I honestly didn't feel all the nostalgia because I was a kid at Christmas in the 70s and the 80s. I was not from the 40s, but my dad was. And my dad grew up in that era. And my dad was about Ralphie's age in that year. And he found it very, very nostalgic and very, very poignant and very valid. So, and I think it's brilliantly done. It's funny. The characters are great. The old man's the best. And before it got done to death, it was up there, probably higher on my list. I think it's 4 now because of just this overexposure. And another reason why It's a Wonderful Life is down at number 10 for me as well. But, so yeah, I got to go with Christmas Story at 4. I won't watch it anymore because I think I can recite every line of it. And, there's no need to watch it anymore. But it does bring you to a place, a special place, a place that you might not have grown up in that time. But you did grow up in memories of kind of like that. And it brought me back to those memories when I was a kid. So for that reason and that reason alone, and the fact that it's just a brilliantly done film, I got to give Christmas Story the nod at number 4. So there you have it. My number 4 Christmas movie of all time, Christmas Story. And that gets us now to the top 3, baby. We are at the pinnacle of greatness. Only 3 more left. I will reveal number 3 tomorrow on our final show of the week. And then next week when we come back, it's number 2 and number 1, and we'll get you right to Christmas. So hope you enjoyed that. I have fun. All right, folks, thank you very much. That is going to wrap it up. We've talked a lot about the Flyers and their struggles tonight and the struggles of Cam York. Come on, man, pull yourself out of it. And is it time to start moving the wheels a little bit and start bringing in a little bit more? And I don't necessarily mean players that are going to help this team out today, but moving off of some of the players that we have for assets, moving off of some of the players that we have to bring in some draft capital, moving off of some of the players that we have to sort of kind of turn the wheel of the ship a little bit faster. As we've, I think, seen the point or the top of a lot of the performance levels of some of these kids. I don't think they're getting better, some of them. And I think it's time. It might be beyond time for some of them also to be moved, as I think they've worn out their shelf life. Contracts are an issue. Yes, Joel Farabee's $5 million a year. I don't know who's taking that off our hands. But those are the things that Danny B's got to maneuver at certain points to figure out how to get this team better. But back to 500, and not a very inspirational game tonight against the Red Wings, as we focused in on Cam York's defensive problems again. Talked a very little bit about the Eagles and about how I really wish people would stop lying to themselves, especially about why the Eagles went pass heavy against the Steelers. It had nothing to do with attacking the 5th rated rushing defense in the league. It had everything to do with putting Jalen Hurts and A.J. Brown on display for everyone to see. And we talked just a very little bit about that. We did our Of the Night segment, our card review, and of course, our Christmas movie of the night as well. I want to thank everybody, and I want to remind all you out there that tomorrow on the network, we are back with some Flyers post-game action. We got a busy day on the network tomorrow. 3 programs. It's going to start with, actually, it's not going to start with that. It's going to start with, hopefully, the Birds Blast with Kyle Quinn, the quintessential Eagle pregame show. And then it's going to go into the Flyers Kings postgame. Sal's got you on Clear the Ice. And it's going to wrap up with me on at 9 o'clock with the final word. So a big day on the network tomorrow. Please stay tuned and check us out. We could use the the support, and everything else. Till we talk again tomorrow, have a great rest of your night and an even better tomorrow.
I'll be coming up hot for a minute. Everybody know the drop when I'm in it. I drop the top when I'm in it. Everybody know the drop when I'm in it. Yeah, I'm so everybody know I'm on it. You know when they click through to the send this possibility, so be fine.